This is the Audacity Show. I am your host, Mia Dunlap. This show is bringing you stories from young people who are under 30 and living their lives with audacity. Welcome to the Audacity Show. I am your host, Mia Dunlap. I'm so excited to introduce you to someone who is a friend of mine and has traveled to 30 countries before the age of 30. Laura, you talk about how this is a mindset thing that you did. First of all, I'm just so grateful that you're here.
Me too.
Thank you for coming all the way from Abu Dhabi to be in New York.
Thank you for having me, Mia. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, to be on the show. What is the mindset that you had to have to travel into 30 countries?
You know, I think it's all about being open-minded, because being that I am from the U.S. and I'm going into different cultures that are unlike my own, keeping an open mind while you're traveling and not being afraid to go to places that take you outside your comfort zone.
What do you feel like is one of the most memorable experiences you've had?
I would have to say, so this time last year, in December, me and 3 friends went to Australia and New Zealand. And we got to visit this mountain called Mount Cook in New Zealand. And we got to do a whole glacier tour and eat and lick 600-year-old ice. So it was just really cool.
600-year-old ice?
Yeah, and
wow.
We got to see these huge glaciers, and it was just such an amazing experience because it just made me appreciate just God's world and everything that it has to offer.
If you can go back to any place, where would you go?
I would say Ghana. I would go back to Ghana because it was such a feel-good place. And the people there were so happy with so little. And it was just a beautiful country.
How did this even start, Laura? Starting to travel and starting to see the world. Where did you start? How did it start?
I would say it started really when I was really young, growing up in Evanston, Illinois. And
not Chicago.
Not the South Side, nope. And I grew up around a majority of white folks, black folks. It was just more so multicultural. And the people that I would hang around, they would always tell me about the places they would go to visit. And even things like Disney World, places that I could never go, something that's even within the U.S. And they would tell me about the places they would go abroad with their families. And my family wasn't afforded that opportunity. Being that both of my parents are immigrants and they come from Haiti, they were just trying to make a living to just survive. And so I would always be like, man, when I get older, I really want to go away for college. I want to go see the world. I want to go abroad. Yeah. And so that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. So take me back to the moment where you decided to live abroad.
I was living in New York at the time, and I was doing Teach for America. And one of my friends who I went to school with, she was doing Teach for America as well. And she was visiting me in New York for New Year's. And she was telling me about this experience. She was like, Laura, we should apply for this teach away. You can live abroad. I'm like, where? Where are we going? I'm like, I don't even have a clue. And so she was like, it's in the UAE. I'd never even heard of the UAE. I'm like, what is that? She was like, it's the United Arab Emirates. I have people that are out there right now. And
you had never been?
Nope. And I was like, this girl is crazy, having me apply to a place in the Middle East. And she was like, we should apply. And she was really nervous about it. So she came to New York to visit, and we're on my couch in Brooklyn. And I'm like, girl, let's just apply. So we're sitting on my couch, we both apply, and that kind of started the whole process.
Wow. So what are you doing abroad?
Right now I'm teaching English to Arabic students, the local students out there, and I'm teaching English, math, and science.
Wow, Laura, what's that like?
Very different from teaching black kids. Very different.
What's the biggest difference?
Because the students there are English as a second language, so they speak Arabic to me all day, and they're 5 years old, and I don't understand what they're saying, so it's kind of like a lot of nonverbals happen in the beginning, and learning how to teach them differently than how I would teach black kids.
Yeah.
And then culturally, it's super different.
You had to have saved up so much money to travel, or what's your relationship to money and traveling and saving? So
I would always have an obsessive mindset when it came to saving. Because of how I grew up and not ever having a backup plan, I would always be like, well, if anything happened to me, I need to back myself up. And so I've always had the mindset to always have an emergency fund. And so from that, whenever I moved anywhere or whenever I traveled, I would always have a backup money as far as that to help me. So with the emergency fund, that's kind of afforded me to be able to travel. And then specifically when I moved to the UAE, being that half of my bills I didn't have to pay for anymore, my company paid for.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have to pay for my rent.
Wow.
The company paid for your rent for you. And
the whole time that you're there.
Yeah. And so it gave me the opportunity, because I'm not living in New York and how much rent costs here.
Right.
When I would pay for rent, I would just pay for travel.
Wow.
So that was a huge factor when it came to traveling.
Wow. That's awesome, Laura. What do you make of the experience now that you have lived in New York and now are living in abroad? What do you think are the biggest differences?
Culture. I think a lot of times I would kind of equate my happiness to like location, and I'm more so realizing it has to do like inner, like how I feel as a person. Like it doesn't matter if I'm in the UAE or New York, I have to feel that happiness. And so I think what I make of the experience is pretty much being grateful, because traveling was something that I have always wanted to do and kind of yearned to do, but I just didn't even know how that looked like and how that was going to become part of my life.
Yeah, gratitude. Yeah. I keep thinking about like going to 30 countries back to back to back, and I'm like, what do you miss when you're gone, or what are you afraid of when you're traveling?
I would say just the unknown. Like, am I gonna like it? Are we, like the whole kind of being comfortable with getting lost and finding yourself again. Like things not going as planned. But I think because I travel with such an amazing travel buddy, we kind of are able to just like go with the flow and just let it happen.
I'm thinking about like what are the biggest gems or the advice you want to give to people either related to travel or money. Because I can imagine looking at this show being like, how do you travel to 30 countries before you're 30? What do you want to say?
I would say if I would give some gems, I would definitely say don't wait on anybody. Like a lot of times you wait on a friend, you're gonna be waiting for a long time. So if you want to go somewhere, just go. Even if that's even exploring your own city. A lot of times even Chicago even. Like there have been times when I haven't even explored Chicago because I am waiting on, or because you live there and you think you have time. So just go. Don't let money hold you back either. Because if that's the case, there's always going to be something that's holding you back. There's always going to be a bill to pay. There's always going to be an issue. And then be open-minded. Go somewhere different from what you're used to. Even living in the Middle East, there's so many different stereotypes in our heads and generalizations, but living there, it's made me realize that like the people there are so nice and they're so willing to help. And I would have never known that unless I went.
Yeah. I feel like there's a stereotype about being Black and living abroad. Have you experienced any tension there?
I have, just by being Black alone. There is a lot of tension, and there's like a lot of just culture differences, being that we're honestly around Arabic people. But it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like get over and not let that hold you back. Even just people being uncomfortable around Black people, people feeling like, we're really aggressive or we're gonna do something, and there's tensions on both parts, being Middle East and being Black, but you just can't let that hold you back.
I'm really grateful for you being here, and I'm gonna end with asking you to finish a couple of statements in whatever way you respond naturally to these statements.
Okay.
I am
grateful.
The thing I'm scared of is
the unknown.
God is
love.
I have the audacity to
change the world.
Well, Laura, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you stopped through. I know this is a layover for you on your way to Chicago. Yes. So I'm so glad that you stopped through to just share some gems and share about your experience. I am more than sure so many people will benefit from hearing this. You've heard it from Laura yourself. Get out there and travel. This is the Audacity Show. I am your host, Mia Dunlap, and I'll see you next week.